So, flashbacks are a powerful tool for revealing backstory, especially when used correctly. But they can be tricky to pull off. They could sometimes feel like just exposition dumps, or they may derail the narrative from where it's going. So, have you ever really wondered, like, how this flashback just felt so seamless? It felt like it was a part of it. And the whole point to present flashbacks is not to disrupt the narrative, but to present it in a way that flows naturally without confusing your readers. Flashbacks, when done well, can add layers of emotional depth and context to your story. So make sure your flashbacks don't feel like interruptions, but instead become key moments that enhance your character and plot. So today we are going to talk about the art of flashbacks, add depth without disrupting the narrative. Okay. But Thomas, what are flashbacks? That's always a great question because you want to clarify everything before you kind of discuss it or teach it. It's always good to learn new information, but again, remember everything I teach you should be on your behalf. Search for more knowledge on it. To understand things, we have to explore things, right? So, this the flashbacks, as an explanation, are powerful tools in a writer's inventory that help you reveal critical moments from a character's past that shape who they are in the present. They provide much needed context, helping readers understand your character's motivations, traumas, or desires. Had something in my eye. So the thing is, you don't want to really be like, let's stop the story. I need to inform this person knows this person. You ever watch a television show and like, the main character be like, grabbing something that reminds, they'll be like, oh, hey, and then they have a flashback of like their friend who gave them the skull, and you've never seen that person in their life on the page or on a television show or even in the movie. They just throw it in and they go, and then they have a nice moment and they're like, oh, this skull, I know you like skulls, and they're like, oh, these guys were friends, and then literally the flashback leaves and the next scene is that person entering the story. So that's a little tricky. That's a little that throws you off, right? So if flashbacks aren't well timed or smoothly integrated, they can pull readers out of the story because it feels unnecessary. It's like, what did just happen, right? So ultimately, to make flashbacks more effective, they need to connect directly to the presence of the narrative, um, offering insight more than exposition, even though exposition is any information that's provided to create context, right? So, but ultimately, in layman's term, what is a flashback? It's a tool designed to show you information in the past. Usually, it is a direct influence from a character's experience. However, it can be a literal flashback where we just see a moment in time. I would like to also say you should think of flashbacks as bridges, not detours. They should not be detours. They should be bridges. They shouldn't feel like they shouldn't feel like an aside or a break from the action, but rather a continuation of the emotional or narrative arc. A well-placed flashback will deepen the reader's understanding of a character's present decisions or struggles by drawing a clear line from past to present. So let's talk about a walkthrough. Now, when writing a flashback, the key is really to make sure it serves the story. I'll repeat that. Make sure it serves the story. Now, again, remember I say story very specifically because a narrative on this channel is made up of plot and story. Plot is what needs to happen no matter what, and story is how that plot unfolds through the emotional experiences of the characters and their choices. So you want to make sure the flashback is serving the story, the emotional experience and choices of the character, by providing critical context or emotional depth. It should answer a question that the reader didn't know they had. I'll repeat that. A flashback should answer a question the reader didn't know they had. Something that informs the character's present motivations, fears, or relationships. Okay. What I'm saying is, if it's answering a question that the reader didn't have, it's basically saying, we're going to create the context for the situation, because why would the reader be interested in this thing? It doesn't make any narrative sense, right? Like especially if it's the skull situation. Like, I didn't know they even like skulls, and why do I have to know that somebody gave them a skull, right? They didn't have that question, so you kind of present answers to a question that they didn't know they had, but ultimately they needed. And more importantly, instead of halting the narrative to dump information, think of the flashback as a living memory. It should flow naturally from a present moment, triggered emotionally by something tangible like a conversation, a specific object, or an emotional event. This seamless integration keeps the reader immersed in the story while giving them a deeper understanding of the character's history. Now, let's do the actual real time. Let's do it. Okay. So let's see. All right. So what I'm gonna do is the first thing I have to do is present I just don't want to take up the screen. All right. The first thing I want to do is I have to present here's the camera. I have to present something to you, the audience, as the reader, to set the scene. So um let's do let's see. Do. All right. Let's go with a very common name on this channel, Sarah. Whoa, we don't want bold. I don't want to throw you off. Sarah, let's set the scene. So Sarah sat in her dimly lit office, the case file spread out on her desk, of course, on her desk. Let's describe the pile. So it's spread out like a haunting puzzle. She couldn't solve. Okay. Now, the reason I went that way is because it does help with creating atmosphere. All right, we have some atmosphere. Also, I can't spell. Haunting. All right. Let's see. Let's start creating a physical object to trigger the memory. So her fingers traced the photo of the missing girl, and a flutter ran through her, elevating each hair on her arm. That's a very tropey thing, but I'm just trying to get through this. Arm, as she remembered her helpless fear holding the body of a young girl she found 3 years from the day. Standing in the rain, she watched the ambulance. I can't spell ambulance. Pulling up with the police. The crime scene. Trying to just kind of build it now. So the sign buzzed. Let's give some sensory details, right? Buzzed with the crime scene buzzed. Chaos. Let's just some chaos it up. What is that chaos though? Flashing lights from the cars, voices shouting, "Oh my god!" Ah! There. By the way, those are M dashes. If anyone wanted to know. Let's see. How does this affect her? Let's give an emotional something or other. Sarah had no will to let go. Sarah hand. It's a thing. When you're just typing, sometimes your brain and hands don't work together. Sarah had no will Sarah had no will. Sarah had no will to let go. Frozen in the pain of not finding her sooner. So we're given some context there. No promise fulfilled. No justice brought to the girl's family. Only death. All right. Let's see. All right, maybe I should explain what's going on here. All right, so let's see. All right, so this is so we got to create the present narrative first. So Sarah sat in her dimly lit office, the case file spread out on her desk like a haunting puzzle she couldn't solve. Her fingers traced the foot. By the way, this is a first draft, so obviously, if I went back through it, I would clean up things. Like I don't really like this word chaos, but I'm just trying to get through it. There's a couple things I also like. This is kind of a haunting puzzle. Like that's kind of I just want to set mood, but at the same time, like you got to just write it and get it out. But anyway, so Sarah sat in her dimly lit office, the case file spread out on her desk like a haunting puzzle she couldn't solve. Her fingers traced the photo of the missing girl and fluttered, and a flutter ran through her. So I like that better. Elevating each hair on her arm. This I would change to, but I just wanted to get through it. Okay. As she remembered her helpless fear holding the body of a young girl she found 3 years from the day. Standing in this. All right. So this would be a new movement. So that would be like that. Because it's a new movement. So this sets up the present. This elevating the arm as she remembered. So this sets up. This is the movement into the past. All right. So this is the flashback happening. So, but so standing in the rain, she watched the ambulance pulling up with the police. I guess I should make it a little small. This is a thing though. Like, no, I want it to be big. I'm gonna take me off. I don't really. Boom, there we go. All right, because I want you to see the whole screen. All right. Standing in the rain, she watched the ambulance pulling up with the police. The crime scene buzzed in chaos, flashing lights, voices shouting. Sarah had no will to let go, frozen in the path of not finding her sooner. No promise fulfilled, no justice brought to the girl's family, only death. Now I kind of want to give another beat to the past. I want to. What does that mean for her? That no promise fulfilled, no justice brought. What is this? What is she remembering in this? So I'm going to talk about the girl a little bit. The girl's face pale under the harsh lights had been seared into her memory. Those eyes, her long blonde hair, her yeah, let's see. Those eyes, black hair, her. Oh, I know what I could do. All right. So let's do this. This is going to be the present. So I'm going to make that this. And this is going to, let me do this. Because I'm going to start writing the present again. So this is the flashback. And then we're going to go back. This is going to be all back to the present. Okay. I think I am going to have to shrink it. If it's hard to see, if you blow up your full screen, you'll be able to see it perfectly. But all right. So what I'm doing here is the girl's Those eyes, her long blonde hair, her. And what I'm trying to do is that what she's seeing, like the items, is matching, because remember, she's holding, Sarah said it, right? Her fingers traced the photo of the missing girl, and a flutter ran down her soul. So she's looking at a photo of a missing girl, and I want it to be like that. The photo is the present case, and it reminded her of her past case. And now let's put a direct action. She drew the image of the child closer. Sarah studied the image from her current case. All right. She drew the image of the child closer. Sarah studied the image. I should just say this. Studying the image from her current case. All right. Now let's connect it. Both these children were the same. Those green eyes. Oh, long blonde hair. And a birthmark directly to the left of her neck. Now, a couple things here. I added green to the eyes. I did that on purpose because I want to, in the memory, it's those eyes, right? And then her long blonde hair to create something that matched. And then see how I have her, and then it's interrupted because she's pulling the image closer, the photo. She drew the, let's just say it so it's clear, the photo, the channel close. All right, and now we know what it is that emotionally pulled her or touched at her to pull the photo closer, which was the birthmark directly to the left of her neck. Right, and then her instincts pushed aside the potential of coincidence. She owned it. Oh, she owed it to that little girl to not make the same mistakes twice. And then we'll have her say something. I'll find you. She said, staring at the image. All right, so there we go. Now, what's going on here is this is a direct present remark, okay? And as it's going through here, this is where it starts getting in the back. Her fingers trace the photo of the missing girl, and a flutter. This starts it. A flutter. This is the emotional truth. The flutter ran down her soul, elevating each hair on her arm as she remembered her helpless fear holding the body of a young girl she found 3 years from the day. All right. Now we're in the memory. Standing in the rain, she watched, because we know she's at her desk. She sat in her dimly lit office. Okay. Standing in the rain, she watched the ambulance pulling up with the police. The crime scene buzzed in chaos. Flash's light voice. Sarah had no will to let go, frozen in the pain of not finding her sooner. No promise fulfilled, no justice, all this stuff, right? And now we're going to bring it back using the idea of the girl in her arms and the photo. The girl's face, pale under the harsh lights, had been seared into her memory. Those eyes, her blonde hair, her. She drew the photo of the child closer, studying the image from her current case. Both these children were the same. Those green eyes, long blonde hair, and a birthmark directly to the left of her neck. Her instincts pushed aside the potential of coincidence. But she owed it to that little girl to not make the same mistake twice. I'll find you, she said, staring at the image. Ooh. All right. So, as you can see, the flashback is directly connected to the emotional through line. All right. It doesn't stop the narrative, be like, maybe if I wanted to stop the narrative, I could have just been like, she sits at the desk, she's tracing the image, and then she goes into her head and thinks about how she failed a similar girl in the past. Like that would just, because that's not, it's too expositional. It doesn't really help the narrative flow well. Another poor example might be she moved her fingers around the image, remembering what her captain said, and then it cuts to her captain going, "Hey, there's a new kid. There's a we got a call saying that a girl was murdered at 1387. I'm going there, chief." And then like it's literally like another scene of her driving there in the flashback, and then she gets to the house. She walks in the house. Then she's like looking around the house. Too much. All right. Not that you can't go that much, by the way. You can, as long as it makes emotional narrative sense. You want. Do we need to know that the captain told her the case is there? Do we like? Is that helping, or is that just because? Remember, you want to start in the middle, right? They usually say start a scene in the middle. All that means is start in the movement. You don't have to. They walk through the door. They take their jacket off. They put the jacket on the hook. They turn on the light. They walk over to their couch. They sit down. They turn the TV on. Their roommate walks in. Hey, what's up, Judy? Oh, nothing. How was your day? My day was good. This is still just the beginning. We're not even close to where we should really be starting. It should just be starting when they're on the couch. Maybe even just turning the TV on, and forget Judy and them saying, "Hey, how was your day?" You just start into it. I got this mail for you, and what is it? Oh, here, jury duty. And now let's move in the story forward. They could have a little bit of banter back and forth, but the point is, sometimes you just want to start. So it's the same thing with the flashbacks. You don't want to start too early or too late. You want to start where it's emotionally important. Um, I will say this: things, I mean, things to consider. Spelled that wrong. All right, things to consider. Um, if a flashback doesn't serve the story, it will feel like a distraction. Always ask yourself, how does this flashback move the plot or develop the character? Okay. Are they helping? Is the flashback helping with one or more of these elements? Plot, character development, or world building? Remember, you always want to be moving in some way or another the plot, character development, and world building. Now, remember, world building isn't that, you know, uh, world building is like anything that is outside what we would know. So, if it's taking place in New York and the cops show up, that isn't world building. We already know that. It's nothing new. However, if it takes place in New York and it's, say, urban fantasy, and the cops pull up during the day, and one of the cops has a special hat and mask on, and the female protagonist says, "When are you going to start just working night shifts?" And I go, I they don't have any available, so I got to take what I need. It's and then she goes, Haven't you been alive for 1,000 years? Shouldn't you have wealth?" And he's like, "Nah, I had gambling problems." Right now, you're adding a little something, something, right? Because what is this? Is it potentially it's a vampire? We don't know, right? But then that's adding to the world, though. It's adding to the world building. So 1,000 years old. All right. The other thing is, make sure the flashbacks reveal something new or deepen understanding of a character. Flashbacks should have a purpose beyond just filling in gaps or adding expositional information. There is a difference between revealing something new or deeper understanding of a character and exposition. Exposition is like, I just need the reader to know this thing that the guy has a cup that says my characters did it. Every time he drinks out of it, the characters in his head come to life and control him. You might not need that, right? Uh, because you're just trying to make it like inform that, oh, every time he drinks from this cup, He has a flashback. Oh, thank you for the first time cup. He drinks the cup for the first time. Oh, it turns out every time he drinks the cup, his character. No, just that you don't need a flashback for that. Just have them drink from the cup and act different and slowly reveal that the cup is influencing it slowly but surely. That's more interesting than just creating a flashback to just say, oh, let's show him getting the cup and let's show how, and then inform the audience that the cup takes control of him through his characters. It kind of doesn't add anything new. It just explains. And you also, as I said earlier, maintain emotional stakes. Both the present scene and the flashback should carry emotional weight. Readers should care about both timelines equally, ensuring the flashback adds tension or depth. That doesn't mean it has to be a heavy flashback. It just means the emotional truth, the weight of the emotional truth has to carry. So it could even be reflective in the sense of like, maybe I'm drinking a Diet Cherry Pepsi, and then as I drink it, I have a memory of my father drinking the same kind of soda and then putting it down, and then me going, Dad, why do you drink that? And he goes, I don't know. It's my father drinking, his father drinking. It's just what happens, right? Now we created the starting point of the thing. The drink reminded him of the father. You might even find out the father died. Whatever the case may be, there has to be a link to it emotionally, right? But it doesn't have to be like that. Isn't super heavy that moment, Anyway, what's the takeaway? The takeaway is that flashbacks can add depth and richness to your story, but they need to be used purposefully. A flashback should not feel like a break from the story, but rather a way to deepen the reader's understanding of the characters and their motivations. Smooth transitions are crucial, whether it's a character recalling a memory triggered by an object, like I just did with the soda, or an emotional event. The shift from present to past needs to feel seamless, purposeful, triggered, connected. A well-placed flashback can reveal new information that adds emotional depth to the journey. So I'll say that again. A well-placed flashback can reveal new information that adds emotional truth and depth to their journey, enriching the character's overall experience and shedding some light on the key plot points. Final thoughts. This is a quick one. Quick final thoughts, everybody. Flashbacks are a fantastic tool to use. You can overuse them, you could underuse them, but the truth is, if you use them correctly, they are powerful. They allow you to deepen your characters and reveal key backstory events without interrupting the present narrative or putting expositional scenes on the page. Sometimes a flashback is going to give you an opportunity to instead show and move characters through the information they need to know about the past instead of somebody just going, do you remember that one case you did a long time ago where, like, I don't know, you got there and she died and the police showed up and there were sirens everywhere and you were just staring at her and you were just like, oh my God, those green eyes, those blue hairs. And then the other character goes, and the birthmark. She had a birthmark too. Like, that scene's not as emotionally interesting. That's just exposition leading to revelation, right? So, but my point is, you should be thinking of flashbacks as opportunities to provide context, show emotional growth, or explain motives, but always with a clear connection to the current plot. The best flashbacks don't feel like breaks, they feel like an integral part of the character's journey. Me personally, I'll never be a fan of showing a quick flashback right before introducing a new character. I talked about that earlier. It just doesn't make any sense to be like, these people were friends for 10 years. They haven't showed up in the book or the story, the page, the movie, whatever. And I need them to have an established relationship so we could just move past that. So I'm just going to do a quick flashback and be like, they knew each other in high school. You want to allow flashbacks to have movement, intention, and connection to the narrative flow from one moment to the next and back, not let me introduce a character so people know that they had a relationship. They've known each other since high school. Flashback is a skill. I will be honest. It's something that you have to practice and consistently work at. Um, the stronger your craft gets with flashbacks, the better you'll be able to weave complex and multi-layer narratives together. It's not just about revealing the past, but about how those past moments influence and shape the present. Understanding when to use a flashback and when not to is a key step in developing your instincts as a storyteller. As you practice incorporating flashbacks, you'll find they can enrich their story's emotional depth, provide more meaningful character development, and ultimately enhance your pacing by creating suspense or revealing pivotal information naturally. Remember, storytelling is about balance. Each flashback should add something valuable to the story, whether it's enhancing the emotional stakes or offering new insight. But using flashbacks wisely, you'll build a more immersive and compelling narrative, guiding readers fluidly between past and present. Next video in the series will be navigating criticism. All right, how to use feedback to grow without your confidence. Oh, that sounds actually pretty exciting. What do you think? What do you think? Because I'll be honest with you. Sometimes, right? Am I right? Am I right? Am I right? I'm not right. Am I right? I think I'm right. Sometimes. Sometimes. Oh, wait. I apologize for that. I was like looking at the thing. Okay. I apologize. The next video, I just looked at my notes. The next video is setting, the time and place in which the story takes place. So we're actually going to go over explaining what setting is. I'm sorry for that. I apologize. So the next video in the series will be about setting. We're going to explore the time and place in which a story takes place and what defines a setting and how to incorporate that. I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Question: What have you read a flashback in a book where you were like, that seemed out of place? Or have you read a flashback where you're like, that was that was interesting that it did that. If so, let me know in the comments below. Yeah. If you like what you've seen so far and you feel like doing it, please hit subscribe and the bell icon so you don't miss out. Other than that, I'm out. I'll see you next time. Keep developing the right mindset. I'll see you next time. Bye.